You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave of heart. Their daring nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. Hi, hello, and welcome. I'm Spencer, and this is Comment Spence, and today I am going to be recommending books to the House of Gryffindor. As I was sort of sitting down and thinking about what books I thought Gryffindors would really enjoy, I wanted to find stories that had a real sense of adventure, stuff that had, large groups of people working together, lots of action and adventure and heroics. So those are some books that I want to share with you today. However, I'm also going to have some very special guests recommending some books to you, so be sure to stay tuned for that, because this is going to be a video full of Gryffindor goodness. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive in, because I have some Gryffindor recommendations that I want to make. The first book I think Gryffindors will enjoy is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. In the world of Orisha, magic has been stolen by a ruthless king. A young magi named Zaylee has the chance to bring magic back, but she'll have to rely on the help of a rogue princess to outrun the crown prince. Someone who is determined to end magic once and for all. Zaylee must fight to control her emerging powers and her growing feelings for the enemy. You guys, this book has Gryffindor written all over it. It is full of action and adventure and magic and romance and drama. What more could you need? This is a real page turner. It hooked me from the beginning and did not let go to the end. And if you are a Gryffindor or a Gryffindor-minded person, this is one action adventure-packed story that you absolutely cannot miss. The next book that I think Gryffindors would really enjoy is Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. Henry Monty Montague is supposed to be a gentleman, but even the finest boarding schools couldn't curb his appetite for trouble. Embarking on a year-long grand tour through Europe, he's determined to indulge his vices and have a good time, even though he's nursing an impossible crush on his best friend, Percy. When one of his reckless decisions turns their adventure into a manhunt, he is forced to confront everything he thought he knew, including his affections for the boy that he adores. You guys, this is a perfect Gryffindor book. It is full of historical fiction goodness. There is romance, there is LGBT+ elements, there is some mystery and unexpected twists and turns that happen. Now is an excellent time to read this book, not only because of the GG read-along that is happening now, which is going to be so much fun, but also because the sequel to this novel, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, is coming out just next month in October. And honestly, you guys, I am so excited to pick it up because I can't wait to see more of these characters and more of the adventures and everything that's going to unfold in that companion novel. This is really a riveting adventure full of unexpected moments, and I think any Gryffindor out there would really enjoy it. The next book I want to recommend to Gryffindors is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. On the shady streets of Ketterdam, six dangerous outcasts form an unlikely band of heroes as they set out to complete an impossible heist. Magic, mayhem, and mischief collide in a spectacular adventure full of danger, desire, and drive. Honestly, if you haven't read Six of Crows at this point, you need to read it just for the sake of reading Six of Crows. This is one of the most celebrated sort of YA fantasy books out there. It has a huge fandom. There is loads of really fun stuff to be found. But beyond all of that, the story is fantastic, and the characters are so memorable and complex and interesting, and the relationships and bonds that get formed between them. Oh, I could go on and on and on about this book, but instead, I'm just gonna tell you, if you haven't read Six of Crows and its companion novel Crooked Kingdom yet, you need to pick them up, because this is one of the best and most celebrated YA duologies out there, and you are absolutely missing out if you haven't given it a try. The next book I want to recommend to Gryffindors is Warcross by Marie Lu. Warcross is more than just a video game. It's a way of life. Brimming with millions of players, teenage hacker Amika Chen works as a bounty hunter, tracking down players who place illegal bets. Convinced that her hacking will end with trouble, she's shocked to receive a call from the game's elusive creator, who wants her to become his new spy and uncover a dangerous security flaw. This book is a really interesting take on action and adventure because it's one of those books that's sort of set in a virtual world. It has a lot of technological elements. It's a little bit like Ready Player One, if you're familiar with that. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a riveting adventure. It was a mystery. I wanted to see what was going to happen. I wanted to see what was going to unfold. And of course, I ended up just getting so invested in the characters and the world that was being built. This is one story you're going to want to get lost in, and I think any Gryffindor out there will absolutely adore the sense of adventure. And the next book I want to recommend to Gryffindors is And I Darken by Kirsten White. Though Lotta is a lady of the Ottoman court, she understands that ruthlessness is key to her survival. Stolen from her homeland and abandoned by her father, she and her brother Radu bide their time until they can get their revenge. But when Lotta's path crosses with Mehmed, the defiant and lonely son of the Sultan, she can't help but find herself drawn to the very boy who's supposed to be her sworn enemy. And I Darken is incredible. It is a slice of historical fiction that is packed with punchy characters and loads of action adventure. Not only that, but the characters and the relationships between them are super interesting and complicated, and personally, Radu is actually my favorite character and I love him so much. That being said, Gryffindors are sure to relate to Lotta, who is a badass, no-holds-barred chick who is the perfect kind of protagonist for this sort of story. I think Gryffindors out there are sure to love the story, and one of the great things is that this is the first in a trilogy, so if you love And I Darken, there are 2 more stories after this that you can pick up and devour. Alright, so those are some books that I think Gryffindors will love, but you don't just have to take my word for it. I happen to have some official Gryffindors who want to make recommendations to you from their very common room. So let's stop in and see what the Gryffindors have to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Cody from Cody's Book Corner. I hope you're doing well. So today I have the joy of recommending one of my favourite books to my fellow Gryffindors and to any other houses that are out there watching. I still think you'll enjoy this book, and that book is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. Red Sister is the first in an adult high fantasy series, which you may have heard of because this was actually the winner for Best Fantasy in the SSF BookTube Awards, so this was the judge's pick. So this has been around on BookTube for a while, although I don't feel like enough people are picking this up. So let me go ahead and tell you about it. So this series can be described in 3 words, and that's magical assassin nuns. What more could you want from a fantasy series? So this story is about our main character Nonna Grey, who at 8 years old is accused of a crime and is about to be hung for it when a sister comes and intervenes and rescues her and takes her back to the Sweet Mercy Convent, where there she will need to learn how to kill people using weapons and poisons, and also learn what kind of magical abilities that she could possibly use, because there's a couple and they're real cool. Nonna is a character who will fight for her friends and put herself in danger. She doesn't always think things through, so in that regard she reminds me of Harry the most out of all the Gryffindors, and she has a complete disregard for the rules, just like Harry. Honestly, if she was at Hogwarts and not in a convent, she'd be losing Gryffindor so many points. So as you can expect, I've already told you guys this is one of my favourite series. Yes, I gave it a 5-star. It is very quick-paced, action-packed, also lovely characters, so it's a touch character-driven. It has, like I said, an intricate but easy-to-follow magic system and lots of political intrigue as well to do with the church. And oh my god, I hope you all pick it up and read it and then come and tell me how much you love it, because this is one of my favourite series ever. And I've just read Grey Sister, which is the sequel, and honestly this was better, and I didn't even realise like it could get better. And the next one, Holy Sister, comes out in April, so we don't have too long of a wait. So a big thank you to Spence for having me. I hope you guys read this and enjoy this. Bye.
Hey everybody, Joshana here from Joshana C, and I am coming at you with a Gryffindor house recommendation. And the book recommendation I have, I actually do not own this. I read a lot of library books, and I am going to end up purchasing this series eventually, but as of right now, I don't own it, but it is one of my favorites, newer favorites, and that is Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan, which is part of the Legends of the First Empire series. This is adult high fantasy, and why I have selected this book for my recommendation, or this series for my recommendation, it is filled with bravery and seemingly insurmountable odds. We have a ragtag band of loyal friends who end up kind of being like a found family. They are constantly sticking up for the little guy, even if the little guy is actually a really big guy with a soft heart who gets bullied all the time. And especially what I really love about this series is, again, it's high fantasy, adult high fantasy, and it's written by a man, but he does a very good job, in my personal opinion, of writing strong female characters, smart, strong female characters. That does not mean that they are all these badass warriors in anti-feminine or anything like that. Some of them are kind of like that, but some of them aren't. Some of them are very feminine by all standards, right? And some of them are badasses that can fight, but some of them are just incredibly smart. They will help their little team beat these odds by using their brains. And if that doesn't remind us of Hermione, what does? So for all these reasons, I think that anyone from House Gryffindor would enjoy Age of Myth and the Legends of the First Empire series in general, if you like fantasy. That's all for me, guys. Happy reading.
Hi, my name is Ola from the channel Ola Queen, and I am a Gryffindor. I took so many quizzes to really get to know what was my ogre tales, and it always came out Gryffindor. So you can take a good recommendation from me, I guess. The main trait of the Gryffindor for me are bravery, adventure, and having strong ideals and always standing up for them and literally just fight for what you believe in. So my pick for this recommendation is a trilogy, which is the Gryffindors by Lee Bardugo. The 3 books are called Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. They are all 3 amazing, beautiful, so magically written. The whole plot starts from a country inspired by Russian folklore that has a threat, darkness. There is this dark, shadowy fold, and people cannot pass that. And when a girl who was an orphan finds out she has power she didn't know she had, all starts from there. This book is full of fantastic, strong characters with so much strength, so many ideas, and they fight for what they believe in. They go through so many adventures, so many incredible, magical, fantastical things, and it's so much fun, but also it has a lot of hope and strength and willpower and inspiration, and it takes a lot of courage to go through what these people go through. In this book we also have that team mentality of grouping up with people that believe in the same ideals as you do. That reminds me a lot of the Golden Trio, and I think that for all these reasons this is a perfect Gryffindor book. I really hope you enjoy it. Bye!
Hi guys, my name is Trin and I am from the booktube channel Transformers. I am a Gryffindor and I am very proud of that, if you cannot tell by my clothing choice. A book recommendation I have for the House of Gryffindor is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book follows Xiomara Batista, and she is a poet and a writer. She lives in Harlem with her family, and her mom is very religious, very Catholic, and Xiomara does not believe in the church anymore. She starts questioning the faith. Also, she feels trapped because her mom has so many strict rules. She's being brought up in this horrible environment and she feels trapped by her upbringing. In school, she meets her English teacher, and then she is slowly introduced to this spoken word poetry club, and then of course that's where she really starts to write, and that's where she loves to perform. Of course, this book is really about her toxic relationship with her parents, especially her mom. I'm recommending this book for the House of Gryffindor because there is a scene in the book where she confronts her mom, and that scene is very important to read. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to stand up to your parents, especially your very strict mom who is super duper religious, and I love that scene so much because it was much needed. Xiomara really needed to confront her mom. As a woman of color, I think it's very important to stand up for yourself because Xiomara has done nothing wrong in my opinion. It's just her beliefs are completely different with her parents, especially her mom. I really appreciate this scene because confronting a parent who was an immigrant is very difficult, but sometimes it has to be done. So yes, I highly recommend this book, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read this earlier this year and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I highly recommend this book if you're interested in reading books that have amazing characters who are very brave and courageous.
Hiya folks, I'm Jocelyn and my channel is called Yo You With a Book. Today I'm on Spencer's channel to talk about my house, Gryffindor, and a book that I would recommend to my fellow housemates. For me, the answer was absolutely simple, and that is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This was Katherine Arden's debut novel last year in 2017, and it is just the most beautiful, atmospheric book you'll ever read. For those of you who are unfamiliar with The Bear and the Nightingale, it is a historical Russian fairy tale inspired story that mostly follows a young Vasya Petrovna who is just the epitome of everything a good Gryffindor should be. Gryffindors are known for their daring, nerve, and chivalry, and Vasya has it in spades. In the time this book is set, there's a clashing of old world traditions and new world beliefs, and Vasya finds herself in the middle of them. Many of the people in her town turn their backs on the old ways, and yet she holds fast. She believes in the everyday magic that exists in her land, and more than that, she actually sees and communicates with some of the smaller spirits. Not only do her affinity and deep belief in magic set her apart, but also the fact that she is a woman who doesn't always do the most womanly things. Many of the men and women in her life believe that she should be married off, but all Vasya really craves is adventure. Like many other Gryffindors we all know and love, Vasya is brave almost to the point of recklessness, and in one impassioned instance, she declares, "I would walk into the jaws of hell itself if it were a path of my own choosing." Though I could go on and on about this book, I'll end by saying if you are in the mood for a lush, cozy book that feels like winter and has the perfect amount of magic and folklore in its depths, I implore you to pick up The Bear and the Nightingale.
Very, very well done, everyone. I must say, 10 points to Gryffindor! Thank you so much to all of the awesome Gryffindors who agreed to be a part of this collaboration. All of their channels will be linked in the description down below, so be sure to go check them out and show them some Gryffindor love. Alright, you guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Those are some books that I and some of my awesome friends think that Gryffindors will love. If you think I did a good job, you can do me a huge solid by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to my channel. I make new videos literally all the time, and I would love for you to become a part of my bookish family. In the comments below, be sure to share some of your Gryffindor book recommendations because I am dying to know what you think some of these adventurous-minded lions would love to read. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, which means please remember, wherever you go and whatever you do, always practice good, Common Spence. I hope to see you next time.